So, welcome. Nice to see you all. I'm Jōshin. I am about to be gone. This is my last time leading the Oak Saturday Sit for a little while. And I thought that for this sit, we would spend some time doing movement practice. And so I had thought to reach out to community member and friend Rhia, who does that professionally and has spent a lot of time on it. So it may be obvious why I would choose to do this at this particular event, or it may not be obvious. In case it isn't, I will try to explain a little bit. But before that, how about let's take some time and just sit together in silence. So at this time, you're welcome to do any meditation practice you're familiar with. And if you're not familiar with meditation practice, then just sit there and don't do anything.
You're on mute.
That's meditation practice. Maybe to the best of your ability, don't do anything. Right? So, as you may have noticed just then, if you were attempting to follow the instructions I gave, as we sit with the simple task of, to the best of our ability, not doing anything, quite often, commonly, it's the case that we are doing a lot of stuff. A lot of what we're doing when we're sitting here with the simple task of not doing anything is thinking about stuff. We specialize in thinking as a species. You can look around and just see it's very apparent that humans have prioritized certain things evolutionarily for a long time, and so we're very good at thinking. It's said that we are the best at thinking, in fact, of all of the animals. We are the most well-suited to having thoughts. So it is said of any of the animals on planet Earth. And this has been very good. This has helped us out a lot. We, because of being able to think about stuff, have been able to do things that other animals haven't been able to do. For example, invent cars, computers, cell phones, DVD players, and so on. It's been very good in many ways. It's helped out a lot of people. It's produced a lot of happiness and joy in the world. We have fabric that we can use to cover ourselves so that we can be in different climates. We thought up how to make that fabric into something that we could wear, so on and so forth. This has been very good. But as we just saw in that exercise, it can be kind of a double-edged sword. As we may have seen in that exercise, if we were taking those instructions seriously, which we may not have been, and that's okay, nothing wrong with that. But if we were taking those instructions seriously, then we may have just seen how difficult it is to not think. And there's a simple term in English for something that you do that you can't stop doing, even if you try to, even if you want to, even if you intend to. And that term, of course, is addiction. That's the definition of addiction. If you're doing something and you can't stop doing that, even if you want to, even if you try to, even if you work at it, that's called an addiction. And we in this species, and particularly in this culture, and even more particularly in this part of the world, those of us who are local to the Bay Area are, generally speaking, very addicted to thinking. We are really addicted to thinking. We really, really need to think, and we can think all kinds of things about why we need to think. But at least in my experience personally, the main reason that I need to think, when I need to think, is to avoid what I feel. The main reason that I need to think is to not feel my body, to not feel what I feel in my body. Having an experience in my body, and I don't want to have that experience. And so I think in order to escape from that experience. It's a very difficult to trust thinking that has that as its basic motivation. I may tell myself I'm thinking about really important things. How am I going to give this talk? What am I going to say? That really matters. You're all here right now. You could be doing anything with your lives right now. You have chosen to spend this period of time in your life listening to me for some reason. So what I say in this talk is of extreme importance. It matters a lot because it matters to you. You could be doing anything right now and you're here. You're tuning in, or some of you are physically present in the room. And beyond that, this is the last talk I'm going to give for a little while, and so it's sort of my last chance to give you my heart. So it seems like I should know what I'm going to say. So I can tell myself it's really important to think about the talk right now. And yet, even then, on inspection, is it the case that some of that is actually about trying not to experience the feeling of inadequacy and helplessness that I feel in my body as I consider that situation? And consider the fact that this is your life, and somehow, due to our work together, my work and your own work, we have come into this relationship, and I don't know that I have anything to offer you that will actually help, that will actually save your life. I don't know that. I don't know how to tell you anything that I know will help. If I consider the things that I know will help, and I consider the things that I can tell you, I don't see any overlap, to be completely frank, between those two categories. The things I know will help and the things that I can tell you, I don't right now see any overlap between those two categories. So I'm doing my best, despite that, to try to say something that might move in the direction of some of the things that I know will help. That's my hope. That's my aspiration right now at this time. And that places me in a position of extreme desperation, extreme sense of needing to do something and not knowing how to do it. And I talked last week briefly about Master Ikkyu, certain Zen master who lived in the 14th century and writes like a poet of the Beat generation. There's a certain line of his that hits me really deeply every time I hear it. Preface this by saying that I haven't trained in Zen for longer than a few weeks of my life. I don't understand Zen. I don't understand the writings of the masters. But this particular writing of Ikkyu's has stuck with me, and I've chewed on it for quite a while. And in doing that, I've come to really appreciate him and also this path and my understanding of it. I thought I'd just share that line with you, because why not? The line is, "Don't wait for the man standing in the snow to cut off his arm. Help him now." So, some of you already have a sense of that. Some of you maybe are a little confused, so I'll try to explain a little of the context of this. So Ikkyu, as far as I can tell, is writing this line to Bodhidharma, the founder of the Zen school, the sort of mythical hero, enlightened being, powerful teacher, great sage who went from India to China, transmitting the true essence of Dharma to that new region. He's addressing Bodhidharma, who's this amazing figure, kind of within that worldview, within that way of seeing things, sort of this like ferocious and perfect being and terrifying being, the embodiment of like truth and goodness and fire and power aligned with truth and goodness. And so the context here is that there's a sort of founding myth in Zen, which is that a certain student, Ekka, went to go and visit Bodhidharma once. So Ekka was a student in ancient China who had mastered various Chinese ways of thinking and approaching problems, and sort of maybe a university professor or a, you know, very well-respected blogger or something, intellectual type, you know the sort, but also altruist, someone who wanted to do good. So maybe an effective altruist blogger, internet personality, but from China 1500 years ago. So you can imagine, maybe you know the type. So Ekka is just one of those. And he's taken the systems of thought and of practice that were available to him as far as they can go, as far as he can tell. And he's become dissatisfied with them. And so he's heard of this master who lives on a mountainside in a cave. And this master has had rather shocking interactions with the leadership of China. Bodhidharma is said to have he's said to have met. He met the emperor of China and had an exchange with the emperor in which the emperor asked him, you know, I've donated a bunch to a lot of effective altruist charities. You know, I gave to Against Malaria Foundation, and I actually donated $20 million to Yale's School of Philosophy, and also I support my church and a bunch of other charities. So how much merit have I gained with that? He didn't say that. He said he built a bunch of temples, but same difference. It's basically the same thing. He asks, how much merit have I gained by donating to all these effective altruist charities? And Bodhidharma, in response, said, none. None whatsoever. You haven't accomplished anything whatsoever by doing that. The emperor's kind of taken aback. He's like, whoa, who are you? Who are you to address me in this way? And Bodhidharma responds by saying, I don't know. So Ekka has heard about this weird guy who had these interactions with the leadership of his country, and he thinks, wow, who is this weird guy? Maybe he can help out with this problem I have. Ekka has this big problem, this deep burning insecurity in his heart, this sense, I have to help the world. How can I help the world? He has this burning, like desperate desire, this sense of like, I have this body, I have this mind, I have this heart. How can I give it to helping the world? I haven't found out how. I need to know how. How can I do that? And this desperation that he feels consumes him. So he goes to see Bodhidharma and goes to the cave, and Bodhidharma's in the cave meditating. And so Ekka stands outside of the cave for a little while. We don't know how long. It's the winter, it's snowing in China, I guess we'll say. It's snowing in, wherever part of the world you are in as you ask this question, but it's snowing in, let's say, ancient China, 1500 years ago. And Ekka is standing outside in the cold and waiting for Bodhidharma to get up from his meditation. Bodhidharma then eventually gets up and comes to the mouth of the cave and says, who are you? And I'm like, what do you want? Who are you? And Ekka, in response, says something like, I only want to liberate all living beings. I only want the teaching that will liberate, that will free, that will save every living being in the world. Please teach me that. Please give me that teaching, Master. And Bodhidharma looks at him and says, you, forget it. It's hopeless. You can't do it. You have tiny amount of compassion. You have almost no compassion and basically zero amount of wisdom. Like, no. Sorry, kid. You're out of luck. And Eka, in response to this, it is said, on the spot, standing there in the snow, cuts off his arm and then offers his arm to Bodhidharma as a demonstration of his sincerity, of his willingness to really do this, to really discover the true teaching, the true way, and really embody it. And Bodhidharma, it said, then teaches him. So this line of Master Ikkyu is saying, it's talking to Bodhidharma, and it's saying, don't wait for the man standing in the snow to cut off his arm. Don't wait for him to cut off his arm. Help him now. He's saying this to Bodhidharma, who is standing there and can see that Eka isn't ready yet. He needs to take a further step. And he's saying to Bodhidharma, you're awakened. You're enlightened. You're perfect. Don't wait. Help him now. And this is a taste of just to consider this already as a taste of the kind of desperation that I'm talking about here. But it's actually, I think, so I don't know, but I think, this is now getting into my thoughts on this, that the statement of Ikkyu's is actually a little bit more significant than just that, because it's a matter of historical fact that, at least as far as I know, so I've heard, it's hearsay, I may be wrong, but so I've heard, it's a matter of historical fact that Eka, or maybe not historical fact, that's too strong of a word. It's widely known, it's widely understood that Eka didn't cut off his arm in the meeting with Bodhidharma. Instead, it was cut off by bandits on his way to see Bodhidharma. So Eka went on this great quest to see Bodhidharma, and in the process of going through that quest, his arm was cut off by bandits. So Ikkyu is saying to Bodhidharma, don't wait for the bandits to have cut off Eka's arm before he came to see you. Help him now. He's saying, don't have it be the case that you live in a society in which there are bandits who will cut off people's arms. Don't wait for that. Don't let that happen. Help him now. But it's even more than that, because he's really not referring just to Bodhidharma, of course. And it isn't about Niso Eka, it's about now, it's about right now. And he's saying, don't wait. Don't wait for the countless living beings on this planet to suffer, to have their arms cut off, to have their loved ones die in cruel ways, to face the reality of impermanence. Don't wait for that. Help them now. I consider this, and I feel a strong affiliation with the poets of the Beat generation. And to go back and read their poems now, it's actually kind of sad for me. I was so inspired by these people. Their poetry was so raw and alive when I was younger. And I read their poems and go like, yes, you're talking about it. You're talking about the thing that everyone needs to talk about. And reading it now, it's like this entire generation just died without realizing what they were trying to realize. These people just died without fulfilling that deep burning wish in their hearts. They went to the grave with that wish still unfulfilled. And this is celebrated. It's taken to be sort of a beautiful thing about that generation. But you can see in their hearts, in the hearts of the poets of the Beat generation, the desire for something real about the world. And so Ikkyu is saying, don't wait for those people to have died to teach them, to offer them something that's really true and really good. Don't wait for them to have died 60 years ago. Help them now. So this is the kind of desperation that I'm talking about. Seeing the position that we're in the world and seeing the acceleration of the destruction of life on Earth, seeing the role that we play in it, and even beyond that, just seeing the mere fact of it, of suffering, of all of these living beings living lives of confusion, hatefulness, and despair, and dying pointlessly, we become filled with desperation. We become completely filled with desperation. Our whole body is full of desperation. And most of the modern world is about how to prevent us from feeling that desperation. Most of the modern world is about preventing us from feeling that desperation because we don't know what to do about it. We aren't able to do anything about it. And if we aren't able to do anything about it, then it actually is kind. It's appropriate not to have it. It's appropriate to, it's sort of like if you can't make good use of it, if it's going to be more damaging than good to have that experience and there isn't any other option, then it seems like we ought to prevent that experience. Good news, though, there are other options. So, as far as I can tell, the thing to do with this desperation is to purify it of the various ways in which it becomes defiled and therefore confused. So we suppress this desperation, we prevent it, we avoid it, because when we feel it, it becomes confused. It, in a way that's primarily embodied and not so much mental, becomes wrapped up in trauma patterns or blockages that we have in our bodies and feeds these patterns rather than being translated into into love, into activity based on love and faith. Instead of that, it gets wrapped up in various patterns. So, for example, we feel this desperation, and especially in the Bay Area, and especially in Western culture, and especially in the human species, turn that desperation into an idea of how the world is supposed to be. And we then fight really hard to make the world into that idea. This is basically giving our energy to what in Buddhism is called the covetousness hindrance, the hindrance of sensual desire or of trying to acquire sensory experience. What's wrong with that? Well, our thinking is limited. It's confused, it's subject to delusion. And so when we do things like say, I have to, what's a good neutral example? I have to, yeah, what? Yeah, maybe ice. Yeah, I have to have ice cream right now. It's kind of it's not quite a real example, but I have to have ice cream right now. Ah! And then we domesticate cattle and we, it's very good at first. Like you have a nice relationship with individual cows and like you get to know them, you milk them, and it's a little bit you know, okay, the cows are all right with it. You're feeding them, you're giving them a nice home, it's good. But you weren't aware that as you domesticated cattle, one day there would be factory farms that would treat them as numbers in a spreadsheet and in inhumane ways steal their young away from them and harvest their bodily fluids as though they were inert pieces of matter. That it didn't occur to you that that was a possible thing that people would do because your thinking is limited. You couldn't have envisioned that happening when you domesticated cattle in order to extract their milk, in order to freeze it, in order to get ice cream. Or in the process of freezing it, you figured out how to freeze it. Good job. You froze the milk. Bad news, the process of freezing it produces greenhouse gases. The greenhouse gases cause global warming. The global warming causes all life to become endangered and go extinct. You came up with flavor for the ice cream. You're, I figured out how to come up with any flavor I want to. I can make anything taste like anything. It's so good. It's science. Wow. You didn't realize that the process of producing those flavors had a chemical byproduct that would leak into rivers and kill fish populations. You just didn't think about it. You couldn't have known. Our thinking is limited in that way. The world is vast. Our thinking is very small and primarily designed to allow us to continue to survive. So don't channel that desperation into coming up with an idea of what to do and then trying really hard to make that idea happen. Or you say, I have to do something, really have to do something. There are all these big problems in the world. What am I going to do about them? I know what I'm going to do about them. I'm going to get rid of the people who are causing those problems, which obviously in 1930s Germany is the Jews. Yes? Or today, whoever it is, the basic reaction of hatefulness. We have this desperation, this urge to help the world, and then that becomes warped by ill will, by the desire for living beings to suffer or to not exist. And so that desperation gets channeled into evil. We feed evil with our hearts. We feed evil with our true hearts because they become warped and confused. It's terrifying. Or, as is also commonly the case, and this is the main one that I'm guilty of or struggling with or working through, however you want to say it. Maybe best to say it as, it's the main teaching I have to offer and it's still in process. I'm still working on it. We take that desperation and we channel it into freaking out. And we have a sense of desperation, something has to be done right now. And the thing to do about that right now is really clearly just to amp ourselves up so that we're full of freaked out energy, and then that energy is running our lives. The magnetic, charismatic, engaging startup boss comes in and wows everyone, and then having eaten some amphetamines beforehand, and then comes on stage and goes, wah! This is, again, a way to, in limited respects, cause things to happen, but has enormous problems, massive externalities that we aren't really aware of most of the time until they become really big. Or we have this desperation, this sense something has to be done right now, and we shut down. We say, I can't do anything. It's so big. It's such a huge problem. And so many things have been tried and they all failed. I maybe tried a bunch of things and they all failed. I just give up. I'm not going to do anything about it. You know, the sense of complacency and the sense of doubt. We doubt ourselves. We doubt teaching that we may have heard. And we become lax, complacent, full of drowsiness, stuck in a rut. So according to the Buddha, it's simply a matter of not doing any of those 5 things. Rather than avoid the desperation, rather than suppress the desperation, prevent yourself from acknowledging the reality of the situation, and rather than buying into, feeding those patterns, those hindrances, just do this. Just be in your body right now. In the moment of being in our bodies right now, we aren't doing any of those things. In the moment of having this experience right now, we aren't doing any of those things. Or if we are, then we're working through them. Because these hindrances, these patterns, these obstructions are primarily, again, embodied. They're things that happen in our bodies and then also take place within our minds, our mental experience of the world. So in order to work through this, it's essential that we work through it in our bodies. It's essential that we come to a relationship with our body and that we, through connecting with our felt sense of this body and both experiencing this body and also expressing with this body, move through this in order to redirect that energy away from these various patterns, learn how to bring it to this moment of experience, so that rather than contributing to the mind that produces the problems, we stop feeding that mind. We, if you wanted to, you could say, feed the mind of the solution. We feed the solution to those problems. That's why, in considering what to offer to this group, what, if anything, will be taken on in posterity as I leave this seat for a little while, in considering of all of the possible things that I could do, that I could talk about, that I could practice with us, with this group, I decided that the most important thing to do, in a state of, you understand, complete insane desperation, seeing the preciousness of your life and seeing the level of delusion that I have and that the world has about all of this, I decided that the appropriate response, the best thing to do, the best thing I could come up with is to have this community member and teacher, Rhia, come to us and lead us in an exercise of moving our bodies, of discovering embodied movement as a way of practicing together. So I'll now hand it over to Rhia. And thank you for doing this, Rhia.
Yeah, tell me if this is better. Does this work better?
Can
Can you hear me?
There we go.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah, you can hear me? Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being present today. I really feel what you're talking about, Jōshin. I feel that I understand that feeling of desperation, and I do think that embodied movement is an important way to move that energy into action and to be aware of some of the confusion, the blocks that keep us from being our whole selves. Is it hard to hear? If you can't hear, do this and I'll repeat it. Okay. That's good. Okay. So I'd like to start just with some gentle warm-up movements just to get connected with our whole bodies. And can everyone just wave if they're hearing me okay? Just because I had some issues. Yeah? Okay, great. So I want to ask if there are people who would like to move primarily in a chair. Raise your hand if you'd like to move primarily in a chair rather than standing or using the floor. Okay, I see a few people. Can you raise your hand if you are happy to stand and move through the space? Okay. And can you raise your hand if you are comfortable doing some movements on the floor? Okay. Okay, so I'll try to give some chair options. And if not, please feel free to adapt anything. And the most important thing I want to say is that this is your time to connect with your body. And so I would like to ask you to follow your own intuition about what feels good and right for your body. And if you feel inspired to do something that's different, even entirely different from what I'm doing, please feel free to do that. Please feel free to use this time for you to connect with your body. So I'm just going to start with a really simple warming up. We're going to go through the body, starting with the feet. And I'm just going to start gently rotating, wiggling toes. You can, of course, do this sitting if you like. And do it lying down if you really want to. We're just going to start from the feet and explore different movements in a very gentle and very mindful way. And then we're going to move up to the knee. Gradually, we're going to move up through the entire body. So this is an opportunity to explore what's possible with your foot. What are some of the ways that your foot moves? How can you awaken the possibilities of awareness in your foot? You can move both feet at once. Could be swaying, shifting your weight. I'm just offering some suggestions. Feel free to explore this on your own. Feel free to do different movements. How does changing your body posture and movement affect your feet? If you feel comfortable, you might even try a little gentle jump. And if not, feel free to stay with the rolling, shaking your foot, and really inviting awareness of your own body rather than looking at what others are doing. There's no need to match. It doesn't matter what you look like. This is about connecting deeply with your own body. Now I'm going to move up to the knees. What are some of the possibilities with the knees? And you'll see, of course, that everything's connected. So as I explore knee movements, I'm, of course, engaging my hips and pelvis, although I'm focusing right now on my knees. And if you're lying on the ground or sitting, of course, the movement will be a little bit different. So we're letting the movement come up to the hips and pelvis. Lots of different ways to do this. These are only a few. Can be rotational movement, can be side to side movement, can be forward and back movement. The hips and the pelvis are such an important part of our body, part of our movement. So finding what's interesting, what feels like an awakening of your hips and pelvis for you. And of course, as we move the pelvis, we're beginning to involve the spine more and more. This could be kind of a wave movement. This can be a wave movement to the side. You bend your knees, you get a little bit more play in your spine. There can be circular rotational movements with the hips. You can have rotational movements with your rib case. Rib case can go side to side. Rib case can go forward and backward. Really awakening and enlivening the entire spine. Bringing in the shoulders. Breathing as you move. Noticing the breath. Allowing space in the rib case. What feels good to this body? What kind of movements might be new, interesting, or even challenging? And as we move our body, emotions might come up, new sensations, being present with whatever arises, and then allowing the movement to extend to the arms, to the elbows. The movement can be slow, can be very slow, or it can be a little bit faster, more dynamic, or more subtle. Letting the movement continue down to the wrist. And the fingers, could include shaking or bending of the fingers. And gentle stretching, if that feels good. Maybe a stretch toward the back. Maybe bending forward if that feels good. It's another way to work with enlivening the hips would be to reach forward and allowing your knees to be bent, just gently swaying side to side. And then perhaps coming up very slowly. This is a really nice way to engage with the spine. It's just to roll your head down one vertebrae at a time. And then allow the neck to be free. Letting the neck be loose. And then rolling back up one vertebrae at a time. Stacking the vertebrae. And gently tipping the head side to side. Continuing to allow some deeper breaths. Rolling the head gently to the front. For some people, it's not a good idea to roll your head to the back. So it's good to just go side to side for now, unless you know that it's comfortable for your neck to go toward the back. Maybe a little bit of a jiggle. If you feel comfortable, it could be a little bit of a hop, jump, shifting weight from side to side. And gently swinging, letting one foot turn, letting your arms bounce around your body. Just swinging loosely. And then the fun part is the face. So what can you invite to warm up your face and engage with all the muscles? Making funny faces. Opening your mouth wide. And your eyes, scrunching them closed. Moving your mouth side to side. Moving your jaw. And feel free to make sounds. Ah, what kind of sounds can you make with these faces? Wah, 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 wah. And letting your eyes roll and all the way around the clock. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And go in the other direction. Try to keep your head relatively still. Just for a second, rubbing your palms together and placing the palms of your hands gently over your eyes to relax them. And breathing slowly. Letting out a sigh. Okay. One little exercise I want to do next is it's about connecting with the earth and with the ocean that is most of our planet. So standing comfortably, allowing yourself to rock forward and back gently. We're going to imagine ourselves as members of a kelp forest. So you're feeling your body rooted through the center of your foot, deep into the, can everyone hear? Yeah? Okay? Okay. So feeling your roots going deep into the floor of the ocean. And at the same time, allowing the waves, the movement of the water to gently rock your body, just slightly forward and backwards. And then gently side to side, just allowing a gentle rocking movement. And feeling the breath coming in and out of your body, allowing your body to relax with this movement. Noticing that the upper part of your body and even your arms, because they are the slender parts of the kelp, they can move a little bit more. The waves carry them gently a little bit further than the trunk of the kelp, including your head and your neck. And sometimes the waves move forward and backwards, and sometimes side to side. And sometimes there's a circular movement as if a kind of whirlpool wave has started around your ankles. And it's moving your knees gently in a circle, moving your thighs gently. Allow your knees to be slightly bent, moving your pelvis and hips slightly in a circle. And then your stomach. And the wave continues up to your rib cage. This can be a very small movement. It doesn't have to be a big movement. Just a very gentle movement with the waves and the shoulders. And the head and neck. And then the wave passes overhead. And you sink back down firmly into the ocean floor. A deep breath. And then feeling the movement of the water again, the next wave that comes through. And this time, just allowing your body to follow that wave in whatever direction it goes. Might be side to side, or it might come from the side and move out to the front. And letting your arms move with the water currents a little bit more as the power of the wave intensifies a little bit. And then allowing the movement of the water to quiet down. Until you come to a still place. Just closing your eyes for a moment, let your attention go to your inner experience of this movement, of this body. What do you notice? What do you sense? So for a few moments with your eyes closed, I'd like you to allow your body to move as it wants to move in this moment. Everyone has eyes closed. This is only about you and your experience with your body. What wants to happen? Is it stillness? Is it swaying? Is it vibrating? Just gently moving. Thank you. Bringing this piece of movement to a pause for a moment. I want to ask you to invite some movement, some stretching. I'm going to share some possibilities with you. And I want to invite you to see to notice what movements are habitual or comfortable in your body, and what ways you might explore movement that is not what you typically do. We tend in our society to do very forward movements, very linear movements, functional movements. But actually our bodies are made to do all kinds of creative and a wide range of movements. For example, is it comfortable to lean back and explore movements like this? Or is there some way that you can explore something that's a little bit different than your normal movement? Could also be something that you try in a chair. How does it feel to explore something a little bit different? It could be a small movement. It could be a larger movement. Chairs can be used to play with some inversions. Chairs can be used to explore different stretches. And it can be something very small, or it can be something very large. So really checking in to see what's comfortable for you and your body, and seeing what is possible. Is there some way of stretching that's new and different and might bring more aliveness to your body? Is there a way you can use the wall? Our bodies are capable of so much, just like our minds and our hearts. How can we expand the possibilities, bring more healing, more wholeness, more aliveness? Sometimes rolling and twisting can bring more looseness, more strength. Sometimes supporting yourself on two limbs and exploring spiral movements. One of my favorite animals is the octopus, so I like to play with the idea of an octopus because of their incredible flexibility and ability to move in all directions. So just taking this opportunity to play and explore, maybe to be inspired by animals, cats, for example. Cats and dogs love to stretch, and they're also really good at shaking things off. If you've noticed, they just give a good shake. When something stressful happens, they just, and then they're good as new. Something that children do, but we've lost the ability, or we've constricted ourselves from that kind of movement. But that's just a choice. So I'm really enjoying seeing everyone explore and have fun with the possibilities. of movement. We especially tend to do, we're on the computer or we're driving or we're doing cooking or whatever in front of our bodies, and yet we have this tremendous capacity to reach up and back. How can we bring that into our life and our experience so that we have a full range of possibilities? What does it feel like to try some of these movements? Every so often taking a moment just to feel. For me, I start to feel aliveness. I start to feel fire and energy flowing through my body as I move. This is the first time I've moved today, so my body is starting to awaken. I'm feeling the strength and the energy flowing through my body. I'm feeling my awareness of the different parts of my body and the way that everything is connected. I'm noticing where I tend not to move, where I tend to hold tension. I'm noticing how the blood is beginning to flow into those areas. So I'm wondering if you could take just a moment to breathe and see what you feel. And as you breathe with eyes closed for a moment, noticing what you sense in your body, noticing what you feel in your heart. I'd like to ask you if there's an image, something, some being in the world that you connect with other than human. Is there an animal? Is there a plant, an insect, a fish, a marine animal? Any being that you connect with, that you can connect with right now with your eyes closed. And if you invite this being in right now, I'm wondering if you can allow this being to express itself through your movement. How does this being want to move through you? And go ahead and allow that movement to unfold. Could be small, could be large. And in the next few moments, finding a way to bring this dance to a close. And again, taking a moment with eyes closed just to notice what you feel. Notice what you sense. I would love to hear a few words from each person. If that's, is that okay, Jōshin? I don't know if that's something there's time for, but I would be really interested to hear
Sounds good to me.
just a few words from each person that wants to share.
I thought maybe we can do that now if you want, Rhia. We could also just have another 10 minutes or so sit and then have people share. Do you have a preference for which?
Yeah, that's okay.
You said it sounds good to what?
I just have a slight preference for hearing now if people are
Good.
willing and interested, just to say just a sentence or two.
Yeah,
If
let's
you
do it.
have something that you'd like to share, just what the experience was, if there was anything that spoke to you about that experience that you would like to share. And if not, it's completely fine.
Very good.
Maybe could we
Yes,
go from one, sorry, can we go to each person? And if you don't want to speak, just pass so that each person gets a chance to speak or pass.
So Zev, I think you go through the list.
Sure. Let's start with Rob.
It looks like Rob.
Rob?
Yeah.
Yes. I was taken with how easy it was to move in ways that I wouldn't let myself move in public because I wasn't performing a movement. I was just moving. I was just being the movement. And that felt very natural and thus much easier, healthier, freer. And that's it.
Thank you, Rob.
Daniel?
I don't have anything to say right now off the top of my head, so I'll pass.
Margaret?
Softly stretched, expanded, and free like a whale floating in the ocean, swimming in the ocean, actually. Thank you, Rhia.
Thank you, Margaret.
Sam?
Apparently, I am a poised snake today.
Thank you, Sam.
Gerge?
I really appreciated how much positive feedback that was coming from my body for some of the movements that were kind of unusual and that I don't do often. There was a strong sense of like, yeah, this is this feels nice. And yeah, it's also interesting how when we did the exercise with the animal or the non-human form, for some reason a fox came to mind, and for a while I was kind of just thinking about it, like, how does a fox move? But then I sort of let go of that and just did whatever like feeling felt right, which if I go back and think about it, I don't think it has anything to do with a fox intellectually, but it did feel like very natural and a lot of fun. So I very much enjoyed that exercise.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Lynn.
Thank you, Rhia. I really, really did enjoy that. I felt that it was very freeing. And I think in these times of stress, it really, it let me laugh. I felt, I felt like I could smile, I could laugh. I just was really enjoying that. And I liked it much better than just sitting and using my mind. I loved being in touch with all the movements. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lynn.
And Bob, if he wants to share.
He'll be right here.
Yes, I was just struck with the gracefulness. It was very, very moving to watch
And participate.
and participate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Renee.
It was, there's a lot of strong emotion here today, and to just completely separate from the mental content and just feel the emotion, whatever it was. That was really a blessing and much appreciated. Thank you, Rhia, and thank you, Jōshin.
Thank you, Renee.
Arafat.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rhia. That was quite a good guidance. I feel more relaxed and energized. That's how I can describe the experience. Super amazing. Thanks a lot for that. And yeah, Jōshin for today's guided session as well.
Thank you, Arthur.
Rich.
Yes, thank you, Rhia. I was really struck that I saw an image of a tree this morning down the street, and it stuck with me for several seconds, and I held on to it. And when you said to go into the living being, that's what I went into, and it felt just wonderful. A real sense of power, and the feeling of going higher and higher was exhilarating. There seemed to be no end to it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Vicky.
Laura.
Thank you. That was really delightful. I found it surprising how intuitive it felt really natural to be the kelp in the ocean. Like I knew how the ocean moves somehow internally, naturally. So that was really surprising. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Pam.
My body hurts so much more than I let myself feel. I'm in a lot of pain now, even though I moved extremely gently. And that's good for me to notice that I may think away or distract away from how my body really feels when it's in pain like this. Though my non-living was the kelp. I love kelp. And even now, just saying it, my pain is reduced by embodying kelp. So thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
The folks at Willow.
Yeah, I still feel like the sea kelp too. I'm noticing myself still swaying back and forth. So I think that's gonna stick with me for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I liked a lot of the other shares. I think Arvat said it right. I got relaxed and energized is right. I really, really love the kelp exercise. It feels like it really allowed some kind of energy to flow, the fluidity and circular motion of it all, reminding me of some movements I haven't done in quite a while. So I'm really feeling the energy from that. And I happened to choose, instead of a living being, a music piece. And I happened to be on the ground facing the ceiling when you said that. So I got to start doing the movements on the ground. And it was just this amazing combination of being able to push back against the surface I was on and embody the music that gave me a really unique movement experience that I haven't had before. So I'm really grateful for you for bringing this in here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Christine.
Well, thank you, Rhia. Very good to meet you. It seems what you're doing is very unique. I am a person who's done many kinds of exercises, and I never related to animals while I was doing them. And I particularly really like the octopus thing. I think I'm going to use it a lot when I'm in the middle of some kind of stressful support call. I'll just put people on hold and get on the floor and extend all my limbs. And I just love that. That part was my favorite. But just relating to animals. And I sometimes I'm in a house that has a cat, and I kind of ignore all the things the cat's doing. But now maybe I'm going to follow what he's doing because it's going to be good for me. So I never have related to animals in my movements before, but this has really opened me up a lot. And the talk earlier about that we of all animals think the most and perhaps think too much. It's great to know that if we can go into some animal kingdom and, put our legs against the wall and climb around on chairs. It's great. I don't know if you're the inventor of it, but if you are, I applaud your introduction of this to us today. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
I think the animals are the inventors. Thank you, Christine.
Kathleen.
I felt particularly nurtured by some of the water imagery, and really love about water the way that it can make us feel so held, but free at the same time. And the words that Jōshin shared with us today, they were really powerful to me, and being able to let those words and message move through using movement as opposed to just sitting was a really beautiful way to let them resonate and settle in my body. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Here.
Well, I joined late, and sounds like I missed a lot of powerful things. So just grateful to be able to hear people's accounts of that, and hopefully I'll get to try out this exercise one day. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
On the recording. It should go up live. You can maybe we'll even separate out the guidance and have that as its own thing that you can listen to. I hope.
Let's go to Morgan.
It was an experience of discomfort, relaxation, release, holding, clinging and forgetting.
Thank you, Morgan.
And if anyone else here at Oak would like to share.
Did we get the person in the bottom left there?
It's Gergen.
Oh, great.
Does anyone here at Oak like to share?
I'll be very brief. Thank you, Rhia.
You're welcome.
It was I was a dog. In fact, there was a particular dog that I imbibed who was very playful and puppy-like and fun. And I scratched my belly, like he liked his belly scratched. And then I realized how good that felt. And I've never actually just scratched my body. And I ended up scratching like the majority of the surface of my body, from the top of my feet all the way, every part of my legs and my belly and my back and my neck and my head and my face even. And it was the sensation. I'm like, I've never scratched myself before, yet this is such a lovely sensation. Wow. So I don't know, I'd recommend everyone else explore that at some point. Thank you, Rhia.
Thank you. We'll include that next time. Thank you, Zach. Oh, I'd like to bring my husband Tom in. He's an AI guy who also likes to move. Do you want to say? I didn't know if you knew he was here.
We both love to scuba dive, so this is one of our favorite scenes. In weightless in kelp with the other animals that are weightless in kelp. It's fun in real life as well. Thanks for bringing that along.
Oh.
We can't quite hear you, Tom.
Could you hear him?
Yeah, sorry. Because that's like saying, I was thanking Rhia for bringing that scene to life, because we like to scuba dive together when there's not a raging pandemic. And this is one of our favorite scenes, is to actually be weightless in a column of water and have all the life around you, 3 dimensions of moving life and color. And you're just a little bit of it. You're just part of it. It's really transformative. Thank you,
Tom.
Yeah.
Anyone else here like to share anything?
I feel a tingling release, and I also want to appreciate Jōshin for bringing this, and Rhia. Anything you'd like to share?
Well, just really nice for me to be able to move around and just not worry for a little while about being in charge and get to be an animal. That was really nice. Thank you.
Pass it back to you.
Now you are in charge.
Very good. So
back to you.
Great. So we'll use that mic from now on.
Or we take a moment to rearrange the space. Maybe we sit for a moment.
Yeah, I thought we might sit for a little bit. So I'll go ahead and start a session, and we will secretly rearrange the space while those of us who can do nothing, do nothing. You're unmuted. Continue to practice this same awareness that we had as we were moving in silence, in stillness. Our bodies do the work. Having done the work, we can enjoy, can experience the fruits of that work, which may not be the fruit that we wanted. And it is the fruit that is here. I'm sitting here, doing nothing, allowing all experience to come and go. With whatever embodied presence we have cultivated. Continuing that momentum very simply. As we sit here now, it isn't so much that we prevent movement. If our body wants to move, we let it move. We're not intentionally moving now. And yet we're still connected with this body. Using this body, this natural intelligence. This body already knows how to do this practice. We move our body, coming into deeper relationship with our body so that our body is more free to do this practice, more trusted to work this out. Okay, so we have a little bit of time now for discussion. If anyone has any questions about practice, about the talk, about anything at all, or if there's anything else anyone would like to share, feel free to speak up at this time, and either I or Rhia will respond. And so if you have a question for one or the other of us, maybe just say so as you ask the question.
Question for Jōshin.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that donating to effective causes and creating good consequences through that has no merit?
First answer is you have to ask Bodhidharma. Second answer, to attempt to do justice to it or interpret in the way that I would. The actions that we take depend on our state of mind. And if that state of mind has imperfect information about the world, then even if we try to take effective actions, if we aren't actually addressing the roots of the problems, it's difficult to actually change anything. So I'm not here claiming that donating to effective charities doesn't accomplish anything. That wasn't me saying that. I believe in effective altruism. I've given to Against Malaria Foundation and others personally. I obviously am here at a nonprofit that is an organization that's trying to improve the world, and we ask for money sometimes. So I'm not going to make the claim that that has no merit. And yet we have to investigate the state of mind with which we make the assessment of what merit is. And it's easy to mess up. Only takes one or two wrong assumptions to cause the whole pile to fall apart. Whole pile of logic. If there's one or two basic assumptions that just turn out to be wrong, then that pile of logic doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So very difficult to be clear on that reasoning. And yet I and we in this organization and Cedar advocate for not becoming so absolute about it. So Bodhidharma may have been saying something to the emperor that was relevant to the emperor at that time. It may be worth considering that point of view, being aware of the extent to which we don't know. And yet, here we are in a room, Bodhidharma isn't around to teach us, so we do our best. We both work to become clearer in terms of seeing the world, questioning our assumptions, and falsifying or verifying them, and also acting based on the imperfect information that we have. So,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Looks like Christine maybe.
Yes, I don't know where you're going or what new assignment they're giving you, but I only know you for a short time, and I definitely will miss you. And your leader in Virginia, that I cannot remember how to say his name.
Sanchin maybe? Or?
Yeah. One of the things that keeps me coming and attracted to this practice is the root directory of the practice is to save the world. And so could you please just very briefly tell me how practicing this form of meditation or being involved with this organization will help save the world? I mean, maybe it's like too vast a thing to say, and I've heard him say the reasons, but I just want one more reminder before I'm not able to hear from you for a while.
Yeah, right. So it's a good question, and one that I have a sense you're asking in part because it's so important to be clear on the answer and so like, well, such a big and therefore complex and complicated topic. And so it's a good question to ask a lot, right?
Well, what I'm impressed with is his dedication to it. Like, he knows he is gonna have a result of that. And I've been in my life dedicated to some things, and I know what that takes to do that, and to be a part of trying to save the world is a great way of, continue the rest of my life. So just wonder why this particular method of meditation will bring us all there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right. So
maybe
you're
can't
asking this
answer
question
today,
yeah.
but it's something when I'm sitting, since I met all of you, I do wonder, well, okay, I did this today, and yes, it does, things seem better, and I'm feeling like I've let go a lot of junk that I used to think about, but then I want to do, like, well, how am I going to save the world? Comes up.
Yeah, exactly. So you're asking this question because it's an important question to ask a lot, is my sense. And to be, and moreover, to not be satisfied with any answer that we understand, that we've come to so far, to hold that question to a high standard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Yeah, great. So it's a really good question. First point is just that it's really good to ask that question a lot. And this is a place where we ask that question a lot. It's really easy to use thinking to come up with an answer to that question that allows us to avoid that question. And if we do that, then it's very hard to answer that question. It's very hard to actually answer that question in a real way with our real lives. So a place like this, there in fact is an answer to that question in terms of thinking. Soryu has talked about his vision at great length for how this community of communities of practice can form a collective intelligence that can shift world history. And I also think about this quite a lot and care about this quite a lot. And yet, as we do this practice, we're dropping all of these stories. We're also dropping that story. We're seeing through that story. We're seeing through all stories and also that story. And so it's a place where we can really face that we have that question. How to actually save the world? How can this, what I'm doing right now, this, as you say, practice of meditation, or of being in a community in a certain way, how can that actually save the world? We don't turn away from the basic fact that we haven't actually answered that question in a satisfying way because to answer that question in a satisfying way would mean that we would have saved the world. And so a place like this confronts us again and again with the fact that regardless of what we think is going to happen, we haven't actually answered that question yet. And yet at the same time, we try. So we do our best taking on feedback, taking on perspectives, ways of seeing things, the best of what the world has produced so far as we can tell, in trying to iteratively approach a satisfying answer to that question on a small scale. So that question, I would say, has been answered historically in small ways for small amounts of time. The life of, say, one person or the life of a community for between 1 and, say, 8 centuries has been, I would say, a pretty good answer to this question. Not perfect, obviously, if for no other reason than that they don't survive, but not bad either. Good. And so it's my view anyway that we want to actually answer the question, which means that we want to have the right answer and scale that answer. So both of these are really difficult things to do. Yeah, what was that?
My computer was asking for power, so I had to run and get the power cord. Excuse me. I was listening to you as best I could. But as you're speaking, I have one last thing to say. I think that by sitting and being and removing all the junk that's in there is contributing to saving the world. One by one. So that's what happened to me. And I assume it will happen to each person, because I've practiced meditating with a group, a Hindu person who's constantly focusing on our creator who created us. But this particular method really helped me remove junk. And so therefore, I think I can remove more junk from the world as I move about my days till the end. That's the gift I give to you, that I met you, and good luck with whatever you're doing next. But I'm sure everyone will miss you, right?
Yeah, really. So really it's two. So first, just to finish that up, it's really 2 parts of the answer. One is that we have something that actually works, and the other is that we scale it. Both of these are enormous, and we want to do both. So here today in this group, hopefully we have come to an answer together to some extent. Again, maybe not perfect, but good. I definitely feel different in my body than I did at the beginning. Perhaps others do also. Perhaps the decisions we make based on that will be a little bit more trustworthy. And then we want to scale that. We want that to actually succeed, to spread throughout the world. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And then thank you. It's sort of, well, how to put it? I'm at the end of my time now. And so, the person who has been here giving these talks isn't probably going to be around for much longer, and I look forward to discovering who I will be after I die. After I go to Oregon, it turns out. That's where I'll be. I'm going to be working with a teacher in Oregon, deepening practice for a little while, given that I have some momentum, and Cedar's assessment that it would be good for me to spend some time deepening that, and is willing to commit a lot of resources to, well, letting this person die. So I'm going to be doing that next. I'm really excited about it. I expect to be back here again before too long, maybe some months or so, but who knows? And I hope that while I'm gone, you all hold this community as precious, hold as precious the opportunity to ask questions like that and not get a satisfying response, and notice that you have not gotten a satisfying response. If you haven't, which I imagine you haven't because there's still car crashes, hold that precious, and hold precious that there's a group of people here giving their lives to realizing this, to satisfactorily answering that question. And so I hope that you all care for each other and for this community, and that you support whoever it is that winds up in this seat while I'm away, and that you keep on exploring this in your own lives and with your own practice. Do we have any closing announcements? Maybe we're kind of over time already, so if not, it's okay.
Jōshin, just I would like to wish you all the best. It was such a great pleasure and honor meeting you, and yeah, looking forward to joining you in a further in further meditation sessions in the future when you're back.
Thank you. Yeah, really wonderful to meet you, and I look forward to deepening our connection. Excited for what we do together.
Jōshin, can I speak for a moment from my elder role in this community, which is to say how my heart is full of love for you, and I am honored and, dare I say, proud to have been witness to your transformation from a cub into a lion. I'm just knocked out, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you. Yeah, how'd you know it was a cat?
I thought about that the whole time.
That was my animal. It was a cat.
So I understand that we're over time.
Jōshin, wishing you the best. You know for sure that I will be thinking of you from 2 to 4 every Saturday, and probably other times too, because I talk to your mom, but you are a part of my life, a growing part, whether you are sitting in that seat or not. So thank you.
So I understand that we're over time, but I would love to request the community to, if for who is willing to take the next 5-10 minutes to share gratitude for Jōshin, including the people here as well. We are moving into a part where we would like to have a bit of a ceremony for Jōshin. So consider you as a part of the ceremony with your gratitude. Thank you.
Good. So anyone's welcome to leave if you need to get to something else, and I suppose we'll do 5-10 minutes or so of gratitude.
Right. Before I leave, thank you for leading these and for trying your best, whatever that is, towards saving the world in whichever way was just described.
Thank you. Really appreciate you coming to this. Really matters a lot. Your perspective adds a lot. I hope that you know it.
Thank you. I did not.
Yeah, it really changed everything. That you have this clarity regarding the obvious, correct way forward in terms of effective altruism, and that you see something here.
Mm.
You can just look around and notice that that's kind of rare.
Huh.
There are a lot of people that see value in this, what's happening here, and there are a lot of people who see and understand the value of the effective altruist worldview, and the overlap is relatively small.
Huh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank everyone who joins these calls every week, that this has truly become a community where we know each other and we care for each other. And thank you, Oak, and thank you, Jōshin, for creating this container and letting it fill and keeping it safe. And yes, cub into a lion, Margaret. I couldn't say it better myself.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jōshin, I need to leave in a few minutes for my mom. I want to tell you what a tremendous impact you've had on my life. Now I'm going to cry too. You just have this amazing ability to see what people are truly capable of.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's a superpower. You inspire people to greatness. And thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. This is my first time here, and I'm so excited and alive with the energy here. I can't wait to come back and be a part. So looking forward to that. And excuse me.
Looking forward to being together in person again.
Yes.
If it's possible.
Blessings to all.
Jōshin. Yeah, I sense he was one of those proof in the pudding kind of people. And yeah, I want to express my gratitude to you. So thank you for holding these practices. I don't have, it's very heartfelt. I don't have to force it. It's just there. And I really want to wish you the best in your practice. Yeah, thanks for adding a little bit of fuel onto the fire of just simply attempting to be sane in this world that makes it hard to do that. So best of luck to you, Jōshin. Until next time.
Thank you.
Jōshin, I would like to thank you, along with everything that everyone has said. A few weeks ago, you had us speak of something that we had noticed, that we had a feeling about, and share what that was. And you held up the feather with a particular meaning to you about your realization to stay on the path and to continue the practice. And this wonderful thing happened. When you held the feather out in front of the blank wall where there was nothing, I could see the feather. And when you moved it in front of you, I could only see you. And that was the moment that image changed something for me, because that was when I understood that the difference between thinking of the Dharma and receiving the Dharma as it comes. So that's something that I will always and forever be joyful about. And thank you for that experience.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a feather. And yet, a powerful story. Thank you.
I would like to say thank you as well. It's been very precious and valuable and much appreciated, everything that you've been bringing. And I'm looking to meet whoever or whatever comes back from Oregon.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And thank you, whoever that was. It was nice. Good.
Jōshin, the first time I met you at Leverage, after the first of Soryu's talks there last year, I spoke to you afterwards and asked you about spending a few months in a monastery. You stood there and listened, and then at just the right moment you said, "Make a decision." And then you paused. You said, "Make a decision."
That's great. Wow. Yeah, I don't remember that. That's great. Yeah. That's great. That's great teaching. I didn't say which decision to make. I just said make a decision.
Yes, exactly.
That's good teaching. Thank you.
That just reminded me, Jōshin, that one of the first times I remember spending with you was on the porch up in Lowell, and you taught me the decision-making algorithm.
Yes. Yes, we should do that again. So important.
It is a wonderful practice, and I've continued to use it as a tool, and I haven't quite got to the point that I can make a decision so quickly as to just make a decision, but it is nice to know that progress is available. So I just want to say thank you so much, and I appreciate these few weeks of what I've heard. And I really loved what you said tonight when you said, this is the fruit that's here. It's not necessarily the fruit that you want. And it is a really a big relief to know what we're experiencing feels so like something that we can find common language for.
Yeah. Yeah. Big time.
Have a happy time in Oregon.
Thank you. And stay in touch. Very good. So I'm sure the people here seem like on the edge of their seat, but are very politely waiting to give you all priority. So the last chance from the video conference, and then we'll.
I can say something, Jōshin.
Sure.
It's been such a joy to see you just completely give of yourself. And to be able to be here with everyone, this has been just so wonderful. You have taught me to love and value impermanence, which is probably something you never thought I could get. And I am so grateful. And to be able to be just thrilled and excited and joyful for your journey, wherever it goes.
Yeah.
So just love you so very much. Thank you.
Thank you. So grateful for that lesson as well. It's teaching me who you are, and it's really nice to get to know you. Really enjoy getting to know you. Dad. For anyone who doesn't know on the live stream. Good. So, what shall we do now?
Well, depends on if we have enough time now. We were thinking about going out and getting the last little bit of sunlight. I know you have until 5 o'clock with some freedom, and then be with our bodies a little more out in the field nearby, do some movement and share a bit more gratitude there.
Great.
Yeah.
So I suppose we will now part ways for now. And again, please stay in touch. Email me, call me anytime. I would love to talk about practice, about your life, about whatever. So please, doors open, even though I'm not going to be here for a while.
Have a beautiful, wonderful, happy, fun celebration out in the field.
All right.
Thinking of you all being there together. That's wonderful.
Yes, and thank you, Pan. Thank you, Pan.
Thank you, Pan.
Pan.
Thanks for thanking me.
Yeah.
Pan, the hero without which none of this would have happened, even kind of.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you. Very good.
Bye.